my soul. My mind is alert. My heart is receptive. My next step is here and now, and so it is. Thank you. So my talk for today is nurturing the seeds of our dreams. And that is something I do a lot. In fact, every single day. And it's important to take time, like every day, to nurture the seeds of our dreams, to nurture that part of us that we want to see grow and become more than it is. The funniest part for me about me is that when I was younger, Born to Be Wild was my song. You probably, don't get that. I hitchhiked cross country. I have traveled cross country over 22 times, either driven, hitchhiked. I've been to every single state in the union. I've been to maybe 15 other countries, all for the purpose of going for the ride. And what I notice about all of that, and now being here as your senior minister, is this is a very different way of being from the way I have been in many sorts of ways. Like, one of the things that was really missing with all those great experiences is I built a life, but I didn't build anything to last. And so when I realized that what I was after now was to build something that lasts, build something that has foundation, build something that can grow, what came to me about that is that takes time. It's easy to go to a party on top of not easy, but I got there, on top of a mountain that very few people know about, that is one of the wild things that happens or used to happen in Big Sur. My guess is it doesn't happen there anymore. But to build something to last takes time, takes nurturing. And so in digging in here as your senior minister and going, okay, we're going to build something, there was something in me that said because we know the truth, this might happen overnight, but it may also take a little time, because building foundation and building things that grow out of foundation takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight. So we began the work. We began the work out of a book called Good to Great. And many of you who are sitting in this room participated in that work that then grew into how we decided our center, the foundation of what we stood for, which is rooted in principle, is going to be. And then out of being rooted in principle, and what is our principle? Our principle is that we get to change our lives by changing our thinking, not by changing our circumstances, but by changing our thinking, our beliefs, what is in us, deeply within us, that we want to grow forth. And so we began that work here, and we began it by taking little steps every day. Little steps. No, when I look out at this room and I see the people in this room, I go, how did we get to this point where there's this many people who show up on Sunday, and how we are? And I see all the steps that took. And there were so many taken by so many people, because we're a family working together. And the family grows, and the ties between people in this family have grown. And I invite you newcomers to come into that, to come into this family where we grow together, where each of us, one of my big things around here, and anybody who's been around here can tell you this, is my first question to them is, what's your passion? What is it you want to do here? Even the people who work here, I constantly want to know what will feed them to take their next steps in life. Because that's what nurtures our soul. What nurtures our soul is when we feed our passions. Now, in feeding our passions, does that mean that, we should stop doing things that may be putting bread on the table? No, I don't think so. Because having a roof over your head and bread on the table is a pretty good thing. I am not one of these people who believes that if you follow your passion, bliss will follow. No. If you follow your passion, life will begin to organize around it as you begin to organize around it. And in the meantime, you still got to take care of whatever needs taken care of. So for those of us who pursue passion, we tend to spend a lot of that time working double time, overtime. Because we need to do the things we need to do, and they all feed each other. If there's not bread on the table, if there's not food, how are you feeding your passion? So what is the nurturance of your seeds? And what does that look like as it goes along? Well, for one, it looks like knowing the truth, because that's what we teach here. We teach here that in our hour of need to abandon the truth is to not understand the truth. The truth is that everything going on in your life, in my life, in this center's life that is going on right now is for our highest and best good, even if it doesn't feel like it. There is no way that a man who had just lost his unborn child and wife feels like that is for his highest good. Nobody's going to feel that way. And yet, since he's still alive, since he's the one still here, there's a way in which it must be for him to grow. Because either we grow or we shrivel up and die. And I've spoken to lots of people who have lost kids. Not a great conversation, except when they say, actually turned out to be the greatest blessing of my life. And I'm like, what? How can that be? And yet, it turns out it can. Because what grows out of that is people then take on causes they would have never taken on and change the planet. People take on different ways of being in the world that impact so many other people. When we have large events that shift our lives, we tend to shift in two ways. We shrink and die, or we grow when we have impact in the world that we never anticipated having. When we can turn around those incidents that can feel so hard, we then inspire others. When we rise. And that's what we can do together. You know, one of the things about this film as I was putting it together that was important to me was to play on the fact that what we're doing here is we're creating together. We're interacting. We're for each other. We support each other through the darkest of times, through the lightest of times. We cheer each other on. And that's what we want that's what I want out of a spiritual community. I want a spiritual community that cheers us on, that feeds my soul as I then want to feed yours. And this is what nurturing is. And this is how we nurture our dreams. You don't sit at home alone. Do it by yourself. You do it with people who want to encourage and love you and lift you up when sometimes it's not so easy to do by yourself. And you do it with reminders. I brought these two plants up here today because these are the two potters that we used during our Easter. Thank you. Easter celebration. And one of the things we did after the Easter celebration is plant seeds and put our dreams into those seeds. And this is what they've grown into so far. Now, the thing about this is what we planted were flowers. So, exactly. So, does it look like we failed because there's no flowers here? No. But doesn't that happen in our lives sometimes as we're trying to nurture our dreams? Is it doesn't appear the way we thought it would appear, and then we feel like a failure. Instead of lifting ourselves up, instead of realizing it's a step along the way. Because there couldn't be lots of steps along the way. Now, sure, In our movement, we believe deeply in the fact that once you know and once you embody, poof, it appears. And I'm all for that, and I see that happen all the time. But I also know that organically, processes take time. And they take steps that we may get a little impatient about. Anybody here ever get impatient about not getting what it is they wanted? So we could look at that and go, why aren't there flowers? That just looks like green stuff. Or we can say, wow, look, this is an incredible step towards the flowers that will certainly appear. And that's how we grow our lives. When instead of thinking of ourselves as failures, thinking of the obstacles as something wrong, thinking of what's going on as bad, to instead looking at them as simply the next step, put before us so we can grow. So we can grow. And that certainly these will flower, as so will our lives. Because that's what we do. We are all flowers. Every one of us, of a different type, of a different height, of a different grade, flowering at our own pace, in our own way, in our own beingness. And when we surround ourselves with people to remind us of that at the hardest of times, we can feel nurtured in a way that can catapult us forward. So the best way to seed your dreams is use this community for what it's here for, to be your family, to be your love, to be your foundation, to be your light. So that then when you're out in the world, you don't feel alone. You feel connected. And in that connection, the light shines bright and we can feel loved. Each and every one of us gets to have a deeper sense of our own personal love through our own lover who sits next to us or near us, our deepest of friends, and our spiritual community. This is a great place to feel loved. I love every one of you, and I feel loved by you, and I am so grateful for that, because that is the heart of nurturing our dreams. Thank you. All right, this is the part of the program where we pray on one of you. Which one of you is going to have the courage to come up here so that we can pray on you, so that then the rest of us can feel like we've been, supportive and feel that prayer within ourselves? We need somebody who's going to stand center stage and say, please, go ahead, come on up. Come on down. What would you like us to pray for you about?
I'm 9 months pregnant, so
Woo!
for the birth.
9 months pregnant, we're praying for a happy, healthy baby. All right, we need 8 to 10 folks up here, hands on. Hubby, you want to come up and lay your hands on your wife? I mean, obviously you already did that.
He just said that.
Okay, let's all take a deep breath, close our eyes, and relax. And as always, we start with the love within our own hearts. Feel that radiating heart within you. And now expand to where you feel it throughout the room. Feel everyone's radiating heart. And now send that love and that light through, tell me your name. Nicole, through Nicole. Send it through Nicole. Through the baby who's growing within her. Through the magnificent child coming into this world. Birth to these amazing parents. Send your love, your light, knowing magnificence of this birth, bringing new life into the world. And I am so grateful for the power and presence of this community. I am so grateful for the new birth that Nicole and her husband are bringing forth into this world. For the magnificence, the brilliance of this new child coming into life. And I release this knowing it to be so, as we all say together. And so it is. What's your name?
Brian.
Brian.
How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Ah, you bet. All right. All right. Woo! Power, presence of our group. Okay. Take out what you're going to give. Hold it in your hand. Unfold it, whether it's $1, $10, $1,000, deeds of property, gold, diamonds, doesn't matter. Unfold it. Hold it in your hand because it's power, it's presence, it's God. What you give is important to your life and every life on this planet. Let's say our affirmation together. God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What we give, we receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am, and so it is.